One of the easiest ways to implement active learning in your classroom is to start using a concept called think, pair, share. It's a very effective tool to engage students in active learning in the classroom. It's a three-part process. The first part is the think. You give the students time to think and reflect on what you're asking them. So instead of just asking a question out into a big audience and expecting someone to raise their hand and answer a question in front of their peers, whom they may be embarrassed to do so in front of, what you do is you give them time to think through their answer before they give it to you. So this might take 1, 2, 3 minutes. You give them time to reflect on the answer that you want. The answer could be anything from the answer to a mathematical problem, how you might solve this problem, the definition to a concept, or even the way they might think about something, what kind of ethical stance they might have, for example. Give them time to think about that on their own silently. So at that point in time, the classroom can be very, very quiet. Active learning is not just about massive noise level in the classroom and people moving around. Active learning also involves engaging students to think critically, and sometimes active learning is very quiet because you've given the students something to think about, something to reflect on, a problem to solve, and they need time to quietly reflect on that on their own, solitary learning. The next part of the process is the pair, where they take those thoughts that they've just formulated on their own and share them with their partner. It might be their high five buddy, it might be their elbow buddy, but they're sharing with somebody and they're getting a co-conspirator in the classroom to kind of consolidate their information, to compound their thought process. At that point, you might go into the share part of the process, but you may also decide to join 2 groups together. So now they're in a group of 4 and they're a discussion group of 4 and they're sharing their thoughts as a group. The next part of the process is the share. Now, often one will ask a question in a classroom of 100 students, and you'll get a sea of blank faces, or they'll look down at on their paper and they won't engage with you. But now they've already had time to think about it, to share it with somebody and get a co-conspirator. And now they might be more prepared to share it in the open forum of the classroom. If you still have a sea of blank faces with no one prepared to share, the strategy I use is a fishbowl. What I will do is I'll ask the pair to put their answer on an index card, and then I'll collect the index cards in the classroom, and then I'll randomly draw their thoughts out of the fishbowl so that everyone in the class has a chance or an opportunity of their voice being heard. And yet we don't have to go through all 100 responses or all 200 responses, but we'll get a select number of responses and we'll discuss them collectively as a class. As the Think, Pair, Share exercise becomes normative in your classroom, you'll find that the students will become more and more engaged and learn what your expectations are. If you do this in the beginning of the semester, you might only get 1 or 2 hands being raised when you get to the share portion of the exercise. But if you continue to do this throughout the semester and it becomes normative, by the end of the semester, a lot more hands will be being raised, and you'll get more active discussion in your classroom.